What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into our first news. Carlos Prates opened up about his upcoming fight with Leon Edwards and also shared his thoughts on the huge clash between JDM and Islam. First off, Carlos isn't buying into the narrative that Leon is past his prime or finished. In his words, the lion is always a lion, and that's exactly how he's treating Edwards going into this matchup. He said he's taking Leon extremely seriously because every move, every strike, and every moment inside the cage matters. Carlos made it clear that he's preparing for the best version of Leon, not a faded one. He doesn't believe Edwards has lost a step, pointing out that he's a former champion, he trains hard, and he's still dangerous at the highest level. When it came to breaking down Islam versus JDM, Carlos gave a confident prediction. He acknowledged Islam as the favorite in the fight, but he believes JDM has grown tremendously as a fighter over the past few years. Carlos mentioned how JDM has improved in every area of his game, especially in takedown defense, referencing his ability to handle grappling-heavy fighters like Belal Muhammad. Prates went on to say that he thinks JDM has the skills to keep the fight standing, and that if he does, he could beat Islam, predicting a decision victory for the Aussie at UFC 322. For Carlos, it's not just blind faith. He sees the development in JDM's striking, timing, and composure, which makes him a real threat to Islam's dominance. As for his own fight, Prates versus Edwards is shaping up to be a massive co-main event. For Leon, the stakes couldn't be higher. He's on the verge of a potential 3-fight skid, and a loss here could seriously damage his standing in the division, maybe even knocking him out of the top 10 conversations. For Carlos, this fight is a golden opportunity. Coming off a huge knockout win over Geoff Neal, a victory against Edwards would immediately launch him into the title picture. It would cement his name as one of the top contenders and potentially set him up for a shot at the belt. Stylistically, both men are strikers, but that doesn't automatically guarantee fireworks. Some analysts believe their styles could cancel each other out, leading to a slower, more tactical fight. Others think their skill sets could collide in a way that forces both men to dig deep and put on a memorable battle. Carlos brushed aside any talk of Leon being finished, stressing again that he's expecting the absolute best version of him inside the octagon. He said he's been working tirelessly, training harder than ever to prepare for the challenge, and that mindset is what makes this fight so compelling. With UFC 322 hosting Islam versus JDM at the top and Prates versus Edwards as the co-main, the event is shaping up to be one of the biggest cards of the year. Both fights carry massive implications for their divisions. Carlos's belief in JDM's ability to shock Islam shows just how confident he is in the next generation of contenders, while at the same time he's laser-focused on proving that he belongs at the very top by taking out Leon. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We are constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That is why we truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on MMA Pulse News. Moving on to another news, Whittaker has called for change in how UFC referees handle fouls, particularly eye pokes. Following UFC Paris, where Nassourdine Imavov picked up a victory over Borralho, Whittaker expressed frustration with how referee Mark Goddard officiated the bout. After 25 minutes of action, it was clear Imavov had done enough to secure the win, and indeed, all 3 judges scored the fight in his favor. But what caught Whittaker's attention was the fact that despite multiple eye pokes and stern warnings, no points were deducted. Whittaker spoke about it on the MMA Arcade podcast and didn't hold back. He said eye pokes need to be addressed more seriously because they can significantly affect a fight. He recalled how Goddard stepped in, gave Imavov a hard warning, and yet Imavov went straight back to fighting with his fingers extended, hands open, gauging distance the same way he had been all along. Whittaker pointed out that even after that strong warning, Imavov made 0 changes to his approach. For him, that was a clear example of why referees need to step in and start taking points instead of just handing out repeated warnings. He explained that recovering from an eye poke is far more difficult than most fans realize. It's not just about the immediate pain, but also about the impact on vision, rhythm, and timing inside the cage. Fighters are already dealing with high-pressure situations, and an eye poke can completely change the dynamic of a round, or even the entire fight. Whittaker's argument is that stricter officiating could help discourage fighters from carelessly leaving their hands open, especially after repeated incidents in the same bout. In the case of Imavov versus Borralho, the final scorecards read 50-45, 49-46, and 49-46 in favor of Imavov. That meant even if a point had been deducted, it wouldn't have changed the outcome of the fight. Still, Whittaker stressed that the principle matters. The lack of enforcement sets a precedent where fighters feel they can get away with repeated fouls without consequence. For him, it's about protecting fighters' health and ensuring fairness in competition. He urged referees to take stronger action moving forward, so that fighters know warnings are not empty, and that continuing the same behavior will have an immediate cost on the scorecards. Moving on to another news, Diego Lopes has fired back at recent comments made by Silva, who added some heat to their upcoming fight by saying he doesn't care for his fellow Brazilian. The two featherweights are set to headline the September 13th UFC Noche card, and it seems the tension is already building. During a recent ESPN preview, Silva openly declared that he has no interest in Lopes, making it clear there is no bond or respect between them. Naturally, that sparked plenty of talk, and Lopes was quick to respond when given the chance. Appearing on the Ariel Helwani show, Lopes was asked directly about Silva's remarks and why his opponent might be showing such disdain. Lopes didn't shy away from answering. He said it's okay if Silva doesn't like him because now the feeling is mutual. Lopes even added a touch of humor, suggesting maybe Silva is jealous of his hair, since, in his words, "I have great hair and he doesn't." The crowd got a laugh out of it, but it was clear Lopes wasn't backing down from the trash talk. Things escalated further when it came to a bet Silva reportedly proposed. According to Silva, if Lopes manages to take him down during their fight, he would hand over his entire fight purse. It was a bold claim and one that certainly caught attention. When asked if he was willing to accept that bet, Lopes gave a calm but confident answer. He said, "Yeah, it's okay. This guy talks a lot. It's okay. Saturday night, it's anyone's fight. This guy needs to keep that money. Trust me." Lopes made it clear that he's not focused on gambling over fight purses. For him, the main goal is to go out there, compete, and leave with the win. The conversation then shifted toward the bigger picture in the featherweight division. Ariel asked Lopes who he thinks should be next in line for the title against the reigning champion, Alexander Volkanovski. Lopes didn't hesitate to give his pick. He mentioned Lerone Murphy, pointing out how impressive Murphy's last performance was when he brutally knocked out Aaron Pico at UFC 319. Lopes praised Murphy, saying he did a great job and deserves a shot at the belt. At the same time, he expressed sympathy for Movsar, acknowledging that he doesn't know why Movsar pulled out of his last fight but still recognizing him as a strong contender. As for Silva, he continues to push the narrative that he's unfazed by Lopes and remains confident heading into fight week. Recently, a video surfaced showing Silva's reaction when he saw himself front and center on the official UFC poster for the event. The look on his face revealed excitement and determination, and fans could sense just how much this main event opportunity means to him. With both men now trading words and refusing to back down, the fight is shaping up to be a heated showdown. Lopes is brushing off the trash talk and focusing on his performance inside the octagon, while Silva is trying to play mental games and rattle his opponent before the cage door even closes. Either way, come September 13th, the talking will stop, and the fight itself will provide all the answers. Moving on to another news. Do you remember that spinning elbow knockout from Lerone Murphy just a few weeks ago? That highlight had everybody talking, and for a moment it really felt like Murphy was the next man up for the featherweight title. That performance was so devastating that fans were already penciling in his name for a championship fight. But like always in MMA, the last thing that happens tends to matter the most. And now all eyes are shifting to UFC Noche, because in just a few days Gene Silva is stepping in against Diego Lopes. If Silva goes out there and delivers something special, suddenly the title conversation gets stirred right back up. He's one of the few guys who can realistically compete with Lerone Murphy for that title shot. Apart from Movsar Evloev, who's been plagued with horrible luck these past few years, Silva is the only fighter from the Fighting Nerds team who hasn't lost his win streak yet, which makes this matchup even more intriguing. But here's the thing, if Lopes gets the job done, that pretty much seals the deal for Lerone Murphy. Diego already had his shot against Alex Volkanovski and came up short, so a win here doesn't push him right back into that conversation. Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson reacted to UFC Noche and gave their thoughts on this matchup. Big John pointed out that this fight isn't about proving whether the Fighting Nerds are frauds or not. He explained that you're fighting the best in the world, and sometimes you lose. That doesn't take away from the skill or legitimacy of a team. In terms of stand-up, both fighters have power, but Big John believes the cleaner striker overall is Gene Silva. He said Silva has more tools on the feet, better technique, and a sharper overall striking game. Lopes, on the other hand, throws a lot of looping shots. While they may not look as crisp, he carries real knockout power, and that power can nullify anything in a fight. On the ground, Lopes has shown great skills, but John acknowledged Silva's physical strength and takedown defense. According to him, Silva is built strong, with powerful legs and hips, and he does the fundamentals right when it comes to stopping takedowns. That's what makes this fight so interesting. If Silva can keep the fight standing, Big John is confident he will win, but if Lopes manages to drag him down, the fight could tilt in his favor. It's one of those matchups where the style clash is clear, and the outcome depends heavily on where the fight takes place. Both men are dangerous, but only one can emerge as a true contender in the featherweight division. For Murphy, the stakes are high as well, because if Silva wins impressively, he suddenly has a rival for that title shot. If Lopes wins, Murphy's path to the belt looks even clearer. Either way, UFC Noche is shaping up to be a pivotal moment for the featherweight division, with major implications for who gets to challenge Alex Volkanovski next. Moving on to another news. Just days after Ilia bumped into Terence Crawford, the featherweight champion shocked everyone by calling for a boxing match with Crawford, not an MMA fight. Ilia even went as far as to promise that he would knock Crawford out with the very first punch he landed. That bold statement sent shockwaves through the MMA community, and fans weren't buying it for a second. Almost immediately, the majority sided with Crawford, pointing out that he is one of the top pound-for-pound boxers on the planet right now and has been proving it against elite competition for years. MMA reporter Luke Thomas weighed in on the call-out, and his reaction was absolutely brutal. He flat-out said Crawford would abuse Ilia in the boxing ring. Luke reminded everyone of what Crawford recently did to Errol Spence, another pound-for-pound elite boxer, a world champion who was completely dismantled and dominated. Luke argued that if that's what happens to a high-level boxer like Spence, then Ilia would stand literally no chance in a boxing match. To him, the idea that an MMA fighter, even a very good one like Ilia, could hang with Crawford is laughable. The MMA world also didn't miss the irony in Ilia's move. Fans quickly mocked him for walking almost step for step down Conor's old path. First beat the greatest featherweight of all time, then chase a lightweight belt, and right after that pivot straight into pursuing a massive boxing fight for money. It's the exact playbook Conor ran years ago, and fans see Ilia copying it right down to the smallest details. Whether Ilia is dead serious about this or just stirring the pot to generate headlines, the community has been buzzing non-stop. Luke Thomas's breakdown of the situation may have been the harshest yet. He pointed out that Ilia is known for saying a lot of things, sometimes outrageous ones, and then going out and actually backing some of them up inside the octagon. That's what makes him exciting, and that's why people listen when he talks. But in this case, Luke said the reality is different. No matter how confident Ilia feels, no matter how sharp his striking looks in MMA, he still levels behind what it takes to compete with someone like Crawford in pure boxing. Luke went further, recalling how Crawford's performance against Spence was so dominant that it effectively retired him. He didn't just beat Spence, he changed his life and career trajectory. For Luke, that's the key point. If Crawford can do that to a decorated world champion boxer, then putting Ilia in that same ring would be disastrous. He said plain and simple, Crawford would abuse him. Even imagining Ilia being able to compete on that level, let alone knock Crawford out with the first punch, is comical. Luke emphasized that fans have seen this storyline before, and it never ends well for MMA fighters. Yet here we are again, another star chasing boxing glory after reaching the top in the UFC, and once more the community is divided between amusement and disbelief. Moving on to another news, Dana White has once again been asked about one of the most debated topics in combat sports: the difference between UFC fighter pay and what boxers earn, especially at the highest level. Over the years, White has defended the UFC's compensation model repeatedly, often pointing out that the comparisons between boxing and MMA don't tell the full story. But now, with White helping to promote one of the biggest boxing matches in recent history, those questions have surfaced once again. In case you didn't know, Dana is promoting the upcoming September 13th bout between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, a blockbuster fight that has fans buzzing. Ahead of the event, he sat down with Vegas PBS, and during the interview he was asked about the fact that boxers in championship bouts are making far more money than UFC fighters. White didn't shy away from the question and explained his stance clearly. He said there are only a handful of boxers that ever make that kind of money. According to him, when you look at the UFC, the money is spread across the entire roster, not just a few names. His phrase was simple: you eat what you kill. White pointed out that if you are a massive star like Conor or Ronda Rousey, or any of the proven names that can sell pay-per-views, then you can make huge money in the UFC. He emphasized that fighters who drive sales and demand are rewarded accordingly. But beyond that, he said the UFC also has athletes who might be considered journeymen in boxing, yet they are still making millions of dollars competing in MMA. To him, this is proof that the narrative around UFC fighter pay being unfair or significantly worse than boxing isn't accurate. White flat out said the whole fighter pay thing is completely not true. The interviewer, however, pushed back on White's claims. He pointed out that the Nevada Commission no longer discloses fighter purses, which makes it harder to verify numbers. White responded by saying that issue lies with the commission, not the UFC. He also added that the promotion does not prevent fighters from publicly discussing their pay if they choose to. That part of the exchange caught the attention of veteran MMA journalist Adam Martin, who reacted by saying the reporter pressed Dana on fighter pay harder than he's seen in a long time. Martin noted that if you've been following the UFC for years, the arguments White made are similar to the ones Lorenzo Fertitta used back when he was still an owner of the company. Back then, Fertitta often explained why the UFC's biggest names earned less than boxing's top champions, pointing to differences in the business structure of the sports. Aside from defending the UFC's pay model, White also revealed some interesting future plans. He confirmed that they are preparing to launch a Contender Series version for boxing. White explained that the show will feature the best fighting the best, with undefeated fighters matched up against other undefeated fighters. He said the concept is all about finding out who truly belongs at the top and giving fans exciting competitive bouts. According to White, the show is expected to air in 2026, marking a new step in the UFC's expansion into the boxing world. For now, as the debate over fighter pay continues, White remains firm on his stance. He insists the UFC offers opportunities across the roster, not just at the very top, and that stars who deliver at the box office are compensated accordingly. With Canelo versus Crawford just around the corner, his defense of the UFC's system is once again under the spotlight. That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.